Today we're at Minnamurra, and what we're looking at now is the Minnamurra River that flows around. If I just swing the camera around, we can see the outlet where the river flows out to the sea, and we can see just over here various mangroves and things like that, and they also grow further up the river. Now what I wanted to have a look at is just around this headland here. I've noticed in the past shells and stuff like that up along the high tide mark, and I haven't had a good look previously, so I just want to see if there's any Midden sites or anything like that, because I'm thinking that there might be, and one of the reasons is that as you can see, we've got the protection on the southeasterly side, and we're close to various rock plateaus. And in the past, I would say, with the 1.5 metre drop in sea level, heading out to this island here would have been accessible. So there would have been a lot of oysters and things like that to be able to gather off the rocks. So we'll just have a little bit of a scout around, just around this this headland, and we'll see if we can't find any kind of middens. It's already wandering around. I've noticed that there has been various rocks and things that are out of place with regards to the geology of the area. And before I show you some of these stones, what I might do is just give you a little bit of an overview of the geology of this area. And what we've got is what's known as pillow basalt. And this was spewed up at the beginning of the formation of the Sydney Basin, and there are various reasons for this. It may have been how the Sydney Basin formed itself, or it could be part of continental rifting and things like that with the breakup of Pangaea, because this is a period of time before Gondwana, or the beginning of Gondwana. And this lava was spewed out underneath the water and formed these pillowy-like structures. So this whole area is made up of basalt, and some of the other rocks I'm going to show you, like the sandstones and even some other different kinds of basalt, and some of the other harder metamorphic rocks, and maybe even a couple of pieces of chert are not from this area. Now you may say that, if I just spin the camera around, that it could have been washed down this river, and you may be right, but I might show you some of the features of some of these stones, and we can, or I can leave it up to you to decide whether you think that these have been transported here via natural processes, or whether the community at the time, the indigenous community at that time, actually transported these stones. So I've just stopped the camera here, and I'll just tilt down and I'll just start to point out some of the different stones that can be found. See here, what we're looking at is another piece of phonite, and this is formed from a different kind of lava flow. This also is associated with continental crust breakup. And if we look at the other kinds of basalt that are around, if I take this one for example, we can see that it's got various gas bubbles and things like that. And if I just tilt the camera up, I'll reset the focus on that, and what we're looking at now is past the island is Bass Point, and Bass Point has some great examples of what's known as vesicular basalt. So that's basalt similar to this that has come up deep down within the Earth's crust, and when it was a sort of a magma liquid, it was highly compressed deep down, and as it came up, the gas was able to escape from the solution, forming these gas bubbles. Now if we have a look at the basalt at this location, we can also see that it's got various gas bubbles. So this tells us that these two types of basalt are different and they're not from the same source. So this one here being local, but this one is not from this particular location, and I'm still yet to track down the precise location of this particular phonite basalt. So before I leave this particular spot, what I want to show you and what I'm going to point out today, before we even get to this Midden site, is these examples of rocks that have been split in half. And there are various examples of stones similar to this that have been split in half. They're all over the place, and when I start seeing stones like this, it immediately lets me know that these have been created through human, through human contact. And what's interesting is that this particular form was a preferred form. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure if it's the way in which it can be held that makes it easier for splitting open things like oysters and other shellfish. But anyway, that seems to be a preferred form, a cobblestone similar to this that's been split right down the middle. So as we get closer towards the headland, we can start to see evidence of the Midden appearing, and before the Midden would have extended out here, and but what we can see is various shell fragments just within the sediment up there. So as I progress further east towards this headland, I'll keep a close eye on the ground and see if there's any kind of interesting tools that may stand out. So just going back and having another look at these sandstones, these come from just a little bit further south, probably the next headland over. And on the next headland over, or around the Bombo Quarry area, which is a short distance from this site, the basalt actually overlays this red sandstone. So this sandstone hasn't come from very far away. While I was recording that last thing about this sandstone, I noticed this, and to me it appears as though we've got some kind of grinding stone. I mean, you could say that, well, this is just a stone that it's lying on the rock platform, and you would be right in saying that. However, if we look at the shape of it, we can see that it fits quite nicely into the hand. In fact, this is a really nice grinding stone. Look at that, that's really nice. This sandstone doesn't come from this area. This is a bit finer sandstone. I would say that this comes from a little bit further north, or even south, somewhere like around Nowra. So this stone is not from this location where I'm sitting at the moment and has been brought here. And I'd say that would be the case for other similar sandstones of this nature. So what we've got here is another bit of sandstone, and to me it looks like we've got some use wear just on this flat face right here. It's kind of a nice size. So if we just have a look at this, all these kind of stones and things like that, we can see all various kinds. I'm not going to be so bold as to say that none of these have been brought here by other mechanisms other than humans, but I would be bold enough to say that various sandstones like that one there, and some of the other harder metamorphic rocks and things like that, which I might try to find some examples of, are not from this area and haven't been brought here by some other kind of process other than being deposited by the action of humans. and I could get carried away and show you all different kinds of examples of this and all different kinds of useware and things like that, but I might just try to see if I can show you the most interesting that I come across. Yeah, I thought I'd better show you this because I love finding these. If I can get the light to play in this hole here, we can see various pitting action that's occurred to create this particular hole in this basalt, and it's not only one. There's a few. There's another one on this end here. If I can get the light into it, it's another one on this side. Actually, there's another one on the opposite side. Another one here, and as I'll just tilt up for a second to show you, we've got, as I mentioned before, this red sandstone that can be seen in various spots, and what we've got here is another great example of a firestone. I'm not sure if this chip here has been something that's occurred recently, or it could possibly have occurred when this was being used, and not recently, but definitely these boring holes, the various pitting marks and stuff like that, would make this a firestone. I'm not sure. I would put my money on saying that this hasn't been eaten out by any kind of mollusk or periwinkle and things like that, because some of these organisms do create these kind of holes, but I'd say this is definitely a fairly popular firestone, and what they would have done is held this with a shaft under there. I'll find a stick kind of in a similar manner to this. Let's see how this other hole feels. Yeah, this hole feels good. I've got a bit of a thumb hole right there. I can hold the stone while somebody else turns this. Another hole there. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty solid to be able to keep force on some kind of stick or shaft in order to create friction to start a fire. So there we go. I've never seen one that's got quite so many holes, but this looks like a very popular firestone. Okay, I just spotted this, and I'm not totally sure what it is. I'm not sure if it's some kind of silicate, or I'm not very good with these kind of stones. Someone may be able to tell me what this is, but it's definitely not basalt, and it's not igneous. This is some kind of metamorphic rock, which of course is associated under some circumstances with volcanoes, but definitely not lava flows. And it also appears that what we've got is either part of a core or a fragment of a core itself, and we can almost see how some flakes have been taken off this particular core. Right beside it, as I mentioned before, we've got various split stones. These are lying all around me, and I think these are used to remove shells and things like that. Another bit, actually, this also may look like it's from being split from part of a core. This may be some kind of debris or debitage associated with making flakes. Interestingly, I also spotted this, and not sure if you can see that clearly enough. I can pick it up again. Well, those lines you see through there are actually growth rings, and this is a piece of pre-mineralized wood. And from the best of my knowledge, this kind of pre-mineralized wood doesn't occur in the Kiama, Gerringong, Minnamurra area. I may, however, be wrong. It could have been transported later through various ice rifting and things like that, but from what I've seen, these have come from places like the Pheasant's Nest Formation and various siltstone layers that have had drop stones or have been a delta of some kind to deposit large trees like Glossopteris, which has been pre-mineralised and turned into what we see here as a piece of fossilised or pre-mineralised wood. Okay, I just wanted to stop and briefly show you this. Now, it's not the best example that I've seen, but what I'm looking at here is what I think could have been possibly an old grinding stone. We can see parts of it are fairly smooth. It appears to have been grounded away. If I just show you some of the other stones, we can see that they're a lot more weathered than this particular stone here, and I don't think it's being caused by any kind of recent event. We can still see how weathering has caused part of the surface to flake off and things like that. But also near this particular location, if I just swing the camera around, no, I didn't put this stone here, but what we've got is what appears to be a grinding stone. It appears to have various use where that can be seen, and again, if we look at the rock behind it, which is this basalt, which is natively formed in this region, and we've got this piece of sandstone sitting in close proximity to it, and with some use wear, and we would be easy to assume that these came in contact with one another, and that this stone here has been transported for the purpose of being some kind of muller or grinding stone. Because not always, because I have seen some examples of basalt grinding stones, but the sandstone was preferred, I think, because it's a little bit more coarse, and also remains coarse throughout the action of use, because it does remove various grains and things like that it would be constantly replaced with other grains within the matrix of the rock itself. So there we go. And interestingly, this beside it also appears to have, if I just get a focus on that, some kind of what appears to be some kind of use wear as well. I'm not sure, but that to me looks like it's had some kind of use wear, especially on that. As for what it did, I'm not sure. It has a fairly good hold. Interesting though, I'm not sure what that would have been, but it does look like it does display signs of use wear. So there we go. That's could be an example of where within this Midden site they used or the location of one of the grinding stones that was used to mill down some of the more starchy material that would have made up part of the diet. Okay, I think I found another one of these mullers, and I actually really like finding these. I don't get sick of looking at these, because on the surface here we can see various use wear scratches and things like that, and I always find it interesting to see the size and the kind of hand that would have been able to hold this. And this stone here is not massive, so unless you were using your fingertips, it would have been difficult to use. So with these smaller mullers, then it could be interpreted that these were used by some of the smaller or younger people within the tribe. Okay, I thought I'd better show you this, because this is quite interesting. What we've got here is what's known as a chopper, and what's interesting about this piece of basalt is we can see various percussion marks down the edge, and they even appear to be along the different margins of this stone. But what we can definitely make out is various percussion markings on both sides, So this particular stone would have been used as a chopper, I'm not sure, you know, to chop branches, things like that, maybe even to, you know, chop the head off a fish. But that's what these particular stones, large stones, were used for. Okay, so we've just been making our way up here, and I showed you some examples of some different grinding stones, some different stones that have been broken in half that I think were ideal tools for, you know, gathering the shells off the rocks, splitting open the oysters and things like that. And I think that the main part of the Midden starts here and then works its way around to the majority of the stuff being in here, which, as you can see, is maybe a nice little sheltered spot. But what I might do is give you a little bit of a 360-degree view, and you can have a look at the kind of foraging environment that was available, and the kind of location that is offered at this site. So I think at the time you would have been able to cross over to that island there. We've got the inlet. We've got the inlet here, which would offer fish. We've got the rock platform here, which would have all kinds of shells, and then in this area in here we've got mangroves where you would have been able to forage for crabs, hunt birds, do all that kind of thing. So this is quite a good location, you know, for hunting and gathering and you know, surviving off the land. So what I'll try to do is just show you a couple of different things as quickly as possible. Starting with this, where we've got, it looks like a piece of shirt or something similar to that, possibly would have been some kind of core. We've got another piece of basalt that's been split right down the middle. Another piece of sandstone. It looks like at one point this may have been part of a grinding stone, and it's been split, not for the purposes of flaking, but probably for the purposes of removing shells and stuff like that from the rocks. Okay, I found something really interesting that I want to push in and show you. So what we've got here is, I believe, is shirts. I'm not fantastic at identifying these kind of stones, but it appears to be some kind of shirt, and we don't have this naturally occurring within this region. This may have come from further down south, in areas like north of Bateman's Bay, in the beginning of the formation of the Sydney Basin, or in other kind of mountain belt systems where there's been, you know, heat and pressure. So this has been carried to this location again, and this may be some kind of core or part of a core. Okay, I might begin to wrap it up, but there are numerous examples of these particular stones that have been broken in half. This is quite interesting. This appears to be either some kind of grinding stone, because it looks like we can see some use wear on the face of that, but it also looks like it has had a notch. So this could have been a hafted, a small hafted axe head. It's interesting, this being quite a small stone, which does appear to have use wear on both sides, still has that notch. So it's interesting, maybe this stone has had two purposes throughout its evolution of sort of human contact. So you can see why, if I just slowly pan them round back towards the Midden site, why a site like this was so important. It's such a great location, and I've had a great time looking at all the different kinds of stones. I've come across hundreds of stones that have been cracked in half. I've come across different examples of axe heads, stones that have come from other regions, which all give us a story and paint a picture of the kind of people that used to live here. And the glimpse that we're getting is how they preferred one stone over another, the value that they held, and the different areas where, you know, the women would use the mullers to make, you know, to mill, and where the stone tools were made. And a firestone that you find may have last been put there by the person who last used it, and that has not been for quite some time. I think it's very important to have a great deal of respect for these areas, and it's also important to have knowledge to be able to identify some of the things that you're looking at. And I hope this video just gives you a little bit of knowledge so you can appreciate when you're walking in an area like this, and through identifying some of the different things, you will gain more of an appreciation and understanding, and have a little bit more of a connection with a past culture.